let's speak to the Culture Minister, who is a former Home Office Minister, Chris Philp, who joins us now on the programme. Very good morning to you. The UK has a Homes for Ukrainians scheme trying to help families like Amelia, like Lilia. A charity on the border, close to the border here, Shephard, has claimed only 47 out of 316 people they have supported have received their visas since the 18th of March. The charity is Love Bristol. Why are we approving so few visas?
Well, good morning, Susanna. So I think so far, I'm told by my Home Office colleagues, we've approved 71,000 visas for Ukrainians, either via the family reunion scheme or via the sponsorship scheme, where someone in the UK offers to look after a Ukrainian family in their own home. So I think 71,000 obviously is a pretty good number. Of those 71,000, I think 21,000 have so far arrived in the United Kingdom, with the remainder presumably on their way.
OK,
I mean, look, the scheme...
Sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you because you're clouding the figures. I'm really sorry to interrupt you. We are talking specifically about the Homes for Ukrainians scheme. And that scheme in particular, 65,000 applications, 39,000 issued, but fewer than 7,000 have arrived. Now, this charity had read the report, the whistleblower report in The Observer at the weekend, this is a whistleblower who spoke to The Observer, who processes documentation and said, people who are doing this work don't know what they're doing. The system is designed to fail, and the purpose is to keep numbers down, even to the extent where the UK government, the Home Office, is approving visas for parents, but not for children. So the parents' visas are counted in the numbers. That looks good for the numbers. But if their children's visas aren't approved, the whole family can't travel and we can't welcome them.
Yeah, well, I think some numbers you just gave a moment ago, if I follow them correctly, you said I think 39,000 had been approved out of 65,000 applications. So well over half have been approved already. Clearly, if parents get their visa, then the children should get the visa as well. The scheme has been set up in quite a hurry. It was slow to start, as has been reported extensively 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it is now getting up and running. And I know that my Home Office colleagues are working night and day, both ministers and officials and civil servants, to get those visas issued. And as I think you said, 39,000 have been issued so far. There have been 71,000 in total if you include the family reunion as well. And every day that goes by, they're making the process better and better. It's not perfect, obviously, as you can see from your own position on the border. It is a rapidly moving, quite difficult situation, and the Home Office are doing the very best that they can.
Mr. Philp, as a former Home Office Minister, can you speak to your colleagues in the Home Office and do exactly what you just said? Children's visas should be approved at the same time as their parents.
Yeah, well, I will. Since you've raised this, obviously you're on the ground on the border, you've raised this issue. I will pick up the phone to my former Home Office colleagues once we're done in this interview, and I will raise that question directly with them. Since you've obviously encountered this issue at the border, I'll raise that with them straight after this interview. Absolutely.
I appreciate that, and the volunteers on the border would appreciate that as well. This is an issue of trust and integrity that goes to the top of government, and I know that Richard Madeley there in the studio wants to ask you some questions about the Prime Minister.
Yes, thanks a lot, Susanna. If we just move on to this front-page story in The Times this morning. I'm sure you've seen it. The headline, Grey report so damning Johnson will have to quit. Somehow the Times seems to have got access to an advance copy of Sue Gray's report. They're saying it is excoriating, and that specifically it's excoriating as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. The criticism of him is absolute, and the prediction is, and this is the Times making this prediction, that it'll basically be the torpedo that sinks the Prime Minister's career. What's your reading of this story this morning?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen the report. I haven't even seen a sniff of the report. I've got absolutely no idea at all what this report says. So it's essentially impossible for me to speculate about or try and respond to a report that I obviously haven't seen. I think we should frankly just wait for the report to come out, and we can all I'm sure it'll get extensively debated both in Parliament and the media when it does come out. So I think probably the right thing to do is just to wait for it and deal with it when we actually know what it says.
Fair enough. Are you nervous about it, though?
Am I No, I don't think so, but let's just wait and see what it says.
Well, what do you make then of at least 48 of your backbench colleagues in the Conservative Party? Sorry, 46, I beg your pardon. 46 letters, all post-dated for the coming by-election, have gone in basically calling for a leadership challenge. That's only just short of the necessary 54 that you require for that. What's happening on the backbenches? I mean, everything seemed pretty calm until about 2-3 weeks ago, but now you've got clearly a backbench revolt growing.
Well, again, I've got no idea where that number 46 comes from. I haven't heard it until you mentioned it, or 48, until you mentioned it.
It was widely reported yesterday.
Well, but I mean, again, the letters go to the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady, who is like scrupulous about making sure that these the numbers and the letters are not publicly disclosed. He's always been very scrupulous. So I've got no idea how anyone could possibly know about the number of letters he may or may not have received. And again, I don't think it's very constructive to speculate about what he may or may not have received when nobody knows apart from him. And there are, frankly, things to deal with, like the situation in Ukraine that obviously your colleague is reporting on, where we're trying to help people in a humanitarian sense. We're leading the world in giving the Ukrainian government the arms it needs to defend itself. There are so many other things that we are working on. I don't think trying to work out or second guess how many letters Graham Brady may or may not have locked up in his office is not a great use of anyone's time, really.
No, but I mean, come on, you must have your ear to the ground in your position. You must be aware. I mean, if working journalists are aware across Fleet Street now that there is a backbench revolt bubbling under, you must be hearing whispers as well. Let's set aside the figure of 46, which, as I say, is widely reported in today's papers. Let's set that to one side. OK, you can't confirm or deny it. But
I don't know.
You must be hearing quite threatening noises coming from the backbenches.
Well, I think, to be honest, what I'm mostly hearing is that both the constituents, I was out and about knocking on doors in Croydon, my constituency, yesterday. What people want to hear about is what we're doing to make sure that jobs growth continues, record numbers of doctors and nurses in the NHS, hiring 20,000 extra police officers, record growth, or rather the highest growth in the G7 in 2021, 7.5%. Those are the things that, the economy, doctors, nurses, police, jobs, those are the things people want the government to get on with, where we are delivering. And that is what most people, both in Parliament and outside, are talking about, getting those basic things done that the British public want us to do.
Yes, it's certainly true that the opinion polls that have been conducted over the last 10 days or so do show exactly what you've just said, that by and large, although there is still a huge backlash against Partygate in this country, it is somewhat muted when you compare it to the real issues that you're talking about. But it's not the case on the backbenches in your party. As my colleague Andrew Pearce writes today in his column in the Mail, he says at the very time that they should be united, some sections of the Tory party seem beset by a kind of madness. I mean, these signals are being picked up. No one's making this up. There is a problem. There is a problem with your backbenchers.
Obviously, we saw last week a couple of people made comments in the House of Commons that have been well reported. But just, talking to people in the tea room, or I've been talking to lots of MPs because Nadine Dorries and I introduced the online safety bill to Parliament last week, took it through its second reading. So we talked to a lot of MPs in the course of doing that. And to be honest, it didn't come up with colleagues. It wasn't sort of mentioned or gossiped about in the way that you're suggesting. So it's not something that I've personally picked up, to be honest. What I am picking up are the issues I talked about, like extra police, record doctors and nurses and so on. And, when I'm knocking on doors in Croydon yesterday, across the borough, in my constituency and elsewhere, and thinking about the local elections, people there were very focused on the fact that Labour have bankrupted Croydon Council by wasting money buying a hotel that subsequently went bust, and they're slashing services for vulnerable people and not cleaning the streets. As a result, that's what people in Croydon were concerned about in the context of the local election.
But we all know what happens to sitting governments in local elections. They do badly. I mean, and that is almost certainly going to happen to the Conservative Party. But we're going to have to leave it there at that point, because I think, as you just promised, Susanna, you've got a phone call to make, haven't you?
Indeed. I will follow that up straight away. This is the third consecutive time I've picked up a point to follow up after coming on GMB, so I will follow it up, yeah.
That's good to hear, and we genuinely appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.